Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at a brand new Fox poll in which shows President Joe Biden defeating Donald Trump by 2 percentage points. And I'm going to be breaking down what this necessarily means on the 2024 electoral map. But before we get started, make sure you guys are subscribed as we're approaching 3,000 and click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my content. Also, if you're interested, we have memberships. You can find a link to that in the description section. And don't forget to like this video. So now Joe Biden is defeating Donald Trump nationally with the addition of RFK, Kennedy getting nearly 10 percentage points, which in my opinion, it could possibly happen. And by the way, speaking of Kennedy, he is not qualifying for the debate. I just want to mention that. But now Joe Biden is in the lead by 0.1%. Is this quite enough to get him over the finish line? Not quite, because when Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 2%, she lost, and Joe Biden is below 2%. And considering that a candidate who got 2% nationally in the popular vote still lost the election, and Joe Biden is below Hillary Clinton, obviously these are losing numbers. This is not shocking, obviously. But now Joe Biden is winning the aggregate, and mainly because the Fox News poll, the new one, actually skewed this race towards the left in favor of Biden. And the most recent Fox News poll has him up by 2 among 1,095 registered voters. Keep in mind that Fox News overestimated Joe Biden in the 2020 election by like 4 percentage points. And if that's the case, then Donald Trump is probably going to win nationally. It's not actually enough to get him over the hump when we're talking about the Electoral College, because he can win the popular vote. But still, the election is decided by the Electoral College. So 2% of the popular vote does not necessarily mean he's going to win the Electoral College. In fact, when Hillary Clinton won it by 2%, she lost the election. And so that's what I want to compare for you guys. And just last month in May, Biden was losing to Donald Trump by 1 percentage point, and now the tides have turned. And now, is there an actual reason why Joe Biden is now leading Donald Trump? Maybe because of the border. He did do some, adjustments, but still that might not be enough. So I really don't think what's going to happen, because with the economy and inflation, literally everything is the same. So I don't think there is any reason he is now all of a sudden taking the lead. I just think it's another random poll, and I don't believe the polls. I really don't trust them. Whether Trump is leading, I don't trust it. Whether Biden's leading, I don't trust it. I think what matters is on election day in November. And then back in March, Trump was leading by 5 percentage points, one of the more greater leads for him in Fox News polling. Back in February, he was up by 2. In December, he was up by 4. And every single month before that, he was up. The last time Biden was leading before this new poll in June was back in October, and that was by 1 percentage point. So Biden has not taken the lead since October, and now he is all of a sudden by 2 percentage points. But when he was in the lead by 1%, Trump took the lead in 5 consistent months. And Joe Biden has never led since until June with brand new polling. So I really do expect Trump to possibly take back the lead. And even if he doesn't, remember, guys, this literally overestimated Biden's support back in 2020. So on top of that, Trump's probably going to win. So now Joe Biden is leading in a lot of these new polls consistently, and with that being said, he is now up nationally. But like I mentioned, winning the national popular vote by 0.1 does not give you the electoral college, 270 electoral votes, so that's what we're going to be doing in this video. And in today's video specifically, I'm going to be filling out the electoral map in a Democratic Party's dream election scenario, and basically Democrats in general would be happy on this specific exact electoral map that I'm going to be filling out. Basically, the Democrats' dream election scenario for a Joe Biden re-election, how this electoral map would look like if Joe Biden really were to win re-election if the new polls from Fox News are correct. So starting off with the likely states, I think Iowa and Ohio would be likely for Donald Trump. You could argue actually Iowa would be on the safe side, as well as Florida would also be likely for the former president. He would win that by like 9 percentage points. Texas, he would probably win it by like 8%, considering the border crisis and whatnot, and immigration as well. Joe Biden is disapproved of on that issue the most out of any other. Also, as for Florida, Republicans have been making tremendous gains in terms of new registered voters. They now lead with the advantage of new voters by 900,000, in which back in 2020, Donald Trump still won the state despite Democrats actually leading. So still considering that he won it with Democrats leading in terms of registration, now Republicans lead by 900,000. That margin for Trump in Florida can definitely expand to maybe even double digits like in the 2022 midterms. DeSantis won by like 19 points. Marco Rubio performed very well, and Miami-Dade County flipped in the 2022 midterms from blue to red. So overall, the state is entirely abandoned the Democratic Party, and Republicans are doing tremendously well among Hispanic voters, specifically specifically Cuban Americans, they are shifting towards the right. For President Biden, in fact, I think Colorado's safe for him. He won it by, I believe, 13 points back in the 2020. So this state's getting bluer. It's still considered a swing or battleground state, but still, I think it's one of the more bluer ones for Joe Biden. And New Mexico, I think, is going to win that by a comfortable, likely margin of somewhere in between 7 to 10 percentage points. I think both of those states are really blue, and it's hard for Trump to overcome the votes. In a Democratic stronghold county like Albuquerque in New Mexico, it's very hard for Trump. And I also do think Minnesota and New Hampshire would be likely for Joe Biden. I think he'd win it by similar margins, just how in 2020 it went to him by 7 points for both states. These states actually are very similar. They vote in the same direction. In 2016, they both voted for Hillary Clinton by literally the similar margins by 1%. So these states really are together when it comes to the voting percentage points. I think Biden would probably win both of them by like 6 points on average at the end of the day in the Democratic Party dream election scenario for Joe Biden's re-election. As well, Virginia, I think he'd win that by like 6 to 7 points. And keep in mind what happened on January 6th. If that's a real issue, it happened literally in this state, obviously, D.C., and maybe that can be a bad showing for Donald Trump. But as for Minnesota, I really do think it's going to come down to Minneapolis. These suburbs here are really shifting towards the left, so I think that's going to alone favor Biden and impact this race in favor of him. And also, I think Biden can do tremendously well among women, especially issues like abortion. I think that can come in handy for him positively for his re-election bid. And also the lean states for Donald Trump in a Democratic Party's dream election scenario. I think Georgia would be lean for him, as well as North Carolina. I think both of those states are more than likely going to Trump in 2024. And also Georgia went to Biden by like 10,000 votes, a margin of 0.2% back in 2020. And the margin of error was just so close. So I think that's very flippable for the former president. The main reason why Biden won his state was because he got high turnout African-American voters. I think his margins with that is probably going to drop. Trump should perform better. Nearly 20% is where he's polling among black support. That may seem low, but it's still enough to flip a state like Georgia especially. And if Biden does not hold up to his numbers in Atlanta, the metropolitan area, and the suburbs there, I think he's not going to win this state. And North Carolina, believe it or not, in general, is just getting redder. Mark Robinson is actually winning in new polling, defeating Josh Stein, and Trump is going to outperform him at the end of the day, obviously. So considering that, I think Trump's actually going to expand his margin in this state. And it goes to show you that when both Arizona and Georgia flipped to Biden in 2020, North Carolina did the exact opposite, and it stayed red for Donald Trump. So North Carolina is a really red state, in my opinion. It's hard for Biden to flip it, considering that 4 years ago was more of a favorable election for Biden, and he still fell short. And 2024, obviously, less favorable for Joe Biden. So Trump's probably going to expand his margin in this state. Moving on to the tilt states for both of these candidates. I do think that in a Democratic Party's dream election scenario for Joe Biden's re-election, there will be no tilt states for the former President Donald Trump. However, I do think Biden will get 5 tilt states in a Democratic Party's dream election scenario, which will get him past 270 electoral votes, winning his re-election. So Nevada would be tilt for Biden in this scenario, as well as Arizona, Wisconsin, the 3 most important Rust Belt states building back that blue wall, or actually keeping that blue wall from 2020, which is very important for a Biden victory, part of his easiest pathway this come November. So starting off with Nevada, I do think that considering that Biden does not overperform in Hillary Clinton's margin in this state, it might get close, but still, I do think if Trump wins the election, he's going to win Nevada. But in this scenario specifically, I do think Biden will narrowly hang on to Nevada. However, because it's hard for Trump to overcome the votes in the Vegas area, Clark County, it's going to be extremely hard for Trump to do that. And if Biden's able to hold on to Washoe or Reno County in northwestern Nevada, I do think that's probably going to help him. In the long run, it's going to come down to Hispanic votes. I think that's very important in this state, as well as Arizona, another border state. So that alone, that issue might not help Biden really much, and his approval rating is below 40%, and that is losing numbers. But still, I just do think Arizona is a left trendy state. At the end of the day, the state's getting a whole lot bluer. They have a Democratic governor, which they haven't done that since like 2009. Katie Hobbs won in 2022. And they also have a Democratic senator. So all around, Democrats keep winning in this state of Arizona. If Biden's able to perform very well in Maricopa County, I think that one county is going to be extremely important and will decide who wins this state. I think Biden probably would win Arizona if he were to win re-election in a Democratic Party's dream scenario. And as for the rest of the states, before I end off this video, starting off with Wisconsin, I think it honestly comes down to those 20,000 votes that Biden won this state by back in 2020, margin of 0.6%. Obviously not the greatest margin. It was extremely close. It's going to be close no matter what. But still, I think it comes down to Milwaukee. If Biden is able to run up the numbers, run up the score in some of these stronghold Democratic counties, as well as Green Bay, I think it's very important for him. And I think issues like the economy, inflation, and are you better off now than where you were 4 years ago? I think issues like that really matters to these Rust Belt voters. It's going to come down to the hardworking class, those blue-collar workers. Also, college-educated voters will be key to a Biden victory in some of these states. And then as for Michigan, I do want to point out that Biden received less votes in the primary than Donald Trump, and he did not even have a challenger while Trump was facing Nikki Haley, an actual opponent, on top of the 100,000 people that have already voted uncommitted in the state for the Democratic primaries. So it goes to show you that Biden probably does not have the enthusiasm in the state, but I do think regardless, he did get endorsed here by the governor, Gretchen Whitmer, who is very popular, and I think that alone can probably carry him to a possible victory in this state. And I think Biden will surge with the woman vote, especially places like Detroit are very left trendy counties, and I think that's going to help Biden in the long run. And I think it's hard for Trump to overcome. Biden won the state by like 3 points back in the 2020 election, so I do think that's a little bit too much for Trump. So maybe it is out of reach, maybe it's not, who knows. And then as for Pennsylvania, Biden has a lot of name recognition here. He can connect to a lot of these voters. It's his home state, obviously. I think he might win this state. He won it by like 81,000 votes back in 2020, a margin of 1.2% to be exact. I think if he's able to hold on to Erie County, very important in northwestern Pennsylvania, a swing district, I think he's probably going to win the state. If he's able to hold on to his numbers in Centray County as well as Northampton, I think that's very important for his victory. If he's able to run up the numbers, run up the score in some of these stronghold Democratic counties like Philadelphia and the Pittsburgh suburbs, the suburbs are extremely important. I think he might be able to win this state. So at the end of the day, in a Democratic Party's dream election scenario, they win with 287 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 251. Biden will defeat him once again. So let me know your overall thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below on this map. What states you agree with or disagree with, and why? Do you think that Joe Biden will win re-election? And one last final reminder before I end out this video is to subscribe as we're approaching 3,000 and click the bell so you don't miss out on my content. Also, we have memberships. You can find a link to that in the description section. And don't forget to like the video, give it a thumbs up. That's pretty much it. Thank you everyone for watching.